If you want a more polished look to your 2024 or newer Toyota Tacoma, these rough country off-road sport fender flares in gloss black are a great addition for your truck. Now this set is great for a couple different situations, whether you've taken some damage to your factory flares and need a replacement, or you simply want a style upgrade for your truck. The gloss black finish offers the TRD Pro style feel if you're looking for a higher trim level look with a premium feel compared to an unpainted option or even a color matched choice. I do want to mention that this set does not fit the Trail Hunter or TRD Pro model, so also just keep that in mind while you're checking these out. Now this set is basically a duplicate of the factory style fender flares when it comes to the shape and coverage, with 1.5 to 1 3/4 inches of coverage depending on what trim or model you have. Now that maintains the correct wheel coverage for aesthetic and functional purposes while getting rid of broken components or ones that don't fit the look that you're going for when it comes to your build. Now again, the gloss black finish here also adds more of a polished look compared to a matte black, but what's great about the finish is that you get to choose if you want to change that, because the material here is all paintable and customizable with the right prep and paint process. This also does include all 4 flares for a inclusive kit. I only have 2 on the table because of the size, but rest assured you are going to get all 4 corners in the kit. Now each of these flares are made of a tri-blend ABS plastic material, which is perfect for what these are, being lightweight but also maintaining a durable composition. So if you're taking your Tacoma off-road, you're not going to have to worry about lighter impacts or debris hitting the fenders. Now the coating is also used as a protective layer to the ABS in addition to finishing the look, and it's UV treated, so you're not going to have to worry about the sun or elements getting to the finish over time, so it's going to keep these looking new. They're also completely bolt-on, and this kit comes with all of the hardware required to install them, making it a breeze. This kit comes in at about $450, which isn't too pricey when looking at other choices. Now, one big thing here that others don't have is the gloss black finish to them, in addition to more of that OE style build. Now, others may take more of an off-road approach with a pocket or oversized style, or keep it to the matte black finish that's customizable but has more of a rugged look compared to this more polished one here. Now I think if you're going for the TRD Pro style aesthetic, or you simply just want a glossed option for your truck that gives you the tire coverage and function that you need day to day, then this is a great pick for you. Install here is a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and all said and done, it should take about an hour or so to get all 4 corners installed. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers. They're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can install these flares on your truck. So that wraps it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
All right, for this install, you will need a 3/8 ratchet, a 10mm socket, and a pair of side cutters. Today, we're going to be installing fender flares on our Tacoma. Let's get started. All right, we're going to start off by removing the protective film on the underside, and then we're going to move to our weather stripping that we're going to install on the outer top edge all the way around, and we can do so by removing our film for the glue, the sealer, peel that back. Probably want to peel off a good bit on this because we're going to start and we're just going to keep going. Bring this to the first edge right here. It will help if you lay it in the direction so you can get a good straight path. And once you get it started, just apply some pressure, make sure it sits down evenly, and then we'll keep going up the section. All right, once you get to the end, you're going to apply some pressure, make sure and go around that your seal is fitted correctly, and then we're going to trim to fit. All right, now that we have our rubber edge all the way around, we're going to trim to fit just about in this section right here. If you want, you can adjust yours wherever you need to. We're just going to use a pair of side cutters, and we're going to come down and go above just about a 1/16 of an inch. Trim that off and finish off the edge. All right, once you have your rubber edge on, you want to check for fitment and a good seal, and then you want to repeat this step for the other sides. All right, now we can move on to removing our 10mm factory screws from the inner fender liner. We have several screws locations. We're going to start with the bottom one here, move our way up to the middle, and then the top sections over here. And then you have one tucked up, it's kind of hard to see. Then we move on to the back section. All right, now that we have the front 3 screws removed, we're gonna remove the last 4 in these sections. There's one tucked up underneath. Move on to this one. 1, 2, 3. Got 3 left. And we can set these screws aside. These bottom screws right here are for if you have mud flaps. If you do have mud flaps, you will need to remove them. So just remove these bottom 3 screws and also remove your mud flap. All right, next we're gonna install the upper bracket. We're gonna put it positioned on the driver front with the outcut right here facing outwards. And we're gonna have to install our U-clips to go on the top end for these screws. If you really need to, you can use a flathead screwdriver to pry this apart, or you can just work it on there and try to open it up a little bit. Slide that on. All right, once you got that clipped in, you can put it on the other side. All right, now we can install this onto the fender. All right, now we're gonna make sure and align this where the cut is outward, and we're gonna line this up with the factory location just about here and here. And we can use the provided hardware to get those started. And we can tighten that down with our 10mm. All right, whether you or not you have mud flaps, you will need to remove the bottommost screw under here. Also, it might be a good idea to remove this one too. You can reinstall it if you need to. All right, now we can line up our fender, and then with some pressure pushing inward, we're gonna wanna start our screw on the bracket that we just installed just about this location and this location. All right, we've got both of our screws started just a little bit. We're gonna finish tightening them up, apply pressure in unevenly, and you tighten this down with your 10mm socket. All right, now we can install our lower bolts onto the fender, get this started. Get that one started in there, and then move on to our top. All right, now with some even pressure, we're gonna apply on the bottom piece and get that lined up, and they're tightened down at the same time. All right, now we can apply some pressure on the top bolt, get that lined up. And just before we tighten it, just keep that pressure on there just to get a tight seal. All right, moving on to our front section, we're gonna get the lower one started and move up to our upper. Put this in with our 10mm socket. Get that started. Move on to our upper side. And again, apply some pressure, we'll get it in there. All right, once you have both started, keep the pressure on there. All right, now that we have all the bolts tightened up on the front end, we can repeat the same steps for the other front side. All right, now we're gonna move on to the rear fender. We're gonna line it up and we're gonna get a couple screws started. All right, now that we have one screw in there holding it up for us, we can move on to the front section. You have 2 screws right here on the front end. Get that lined up. All right, now with some pressure pushing in, we're gonna tighten this down. Now we can install our top screw. And we can tighten up our screw that was holding in place. And we have one more in the back. All right, now we're gonna move on to our bottom screws on the side here. We're gonna push in and lift up a little bit, get it lined up. Get that one started, move on to our top section. And we also can get the uppermost bolt started. All right, once you have all 3 of those started, you can put in a little bit of pressure right here and get that tightened down. All right, now that you have all these tightened up, you can repeat the same steps for the other rear side. All right, that wraps up our install for rough country off-road sport fender flares in gloss black on 24 to 26 Tacoma, excluding Trail Hunter and TRD Pro. Just remember, for everything Tacoma related, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.